Welcome to Pure Mind Magic, the show to evolve your mind. Our mind is the most powerful thing we have, but no one teaches us how to use it. When we find out how, we're ready to create magic in life and in business. Learn real mindset secrets from brilliant minds around the world to change your mindset and income level forever. With every decision you make, you create your future. What is your next move? Now, welcome your host, international magician, speaker, and podcast performance consultant, Jennifer S. Royal.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining me today at Pure Mind Magic with my guest from Florida, Kyle Mayberry. Kyle is a high achiever and very interesting personality. He has coached professional athletes for over 20 years and represented top tennis players in the world, worked with professional basketball players and golfers, and represented international artists. But he did not stop there, gaining all this wisdom and experiences while traveling the world and working with professional athletes. He also has new ideas on a daily basis and brought his vision to life to found True Athletics. What this company does exactly, we will explore in this interview, but so much up front, it helps get students access to college coaches and also helps students to learn abroad and find the right college for them. Kyle also answers your questions in case you have a kid and are interested in how your kid can find the right college. That might be in the United States while you are living in Europe. So how can you deal with all this visa and in the end make this all happen and find the right college for you? So Kyle is really an expert there, and he's driven to help young people and professionals to find their path in life. And maybe you did not know it, but I learned from Kyle that you can apply for a college even to the age of 28. So this is going to be an interesting interview where you can learn a lot and also get all this inspiration from Kyle, especially in these tough times where we are fighting with still the virus going on in the world. But Kyle has some interesting insights on that, so stay tuned and find out more. And also, please stay until the end of the show. I have a special music tip for you after our interview. So get ready for some inspiration and lean back, enjoy the show. Hi Kyle, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So please, before I start asking you all my questions I have here, because you're such an interesting personality, introduce yourself to our audience.
Well, I don't know about an interesting personality, but my name is Kyle Mayberry, and I'm originally from Oklahoma, and I'm currently residing now in South sunny Florida.
Very nice area there.
Yeah.
And you're looking back to a really interesting story and a lot of accomplishments you did already in your life, and you are never standing still, I have the feeling, because you're always coming up with new ideas and new projects, and we will dive into that deeper. But what is really interesting, because I love traveling myself so much, and you really traveled the world to coach professional athletes for over 20 years. Can you share some insights on that?
Yes, I basically was in college, and college didn't end up working out. After my freshman year, I got called into the dean's office, and I was sat down and I was told that basically I wasn't doing good in one of the classes, and I was going to be losing one of my scholarships, and I wasn't going to be able to afford to stay in college. So I basically left school. And I, at the time, didn't know what I was going to do with my life. but I knew that I wasn't scared of hard work and I wanted to travel. And I felt after growing up in Oklahoma that the world was such a big place that I had so much more to learn and see rather than a small city and small farms. So I took off, and my first job that I got, believe it or not, was in Taipei, Taiwan, and nobody spoke any English, and I got my first client, and we had success, and everything kind of just evolved from that. I got to go from Taipei to Japan, and from Japan all around the world, and then I got into the management side, and so everything kind of then just grew from starting out from just speaking to people. I wish I would have known how powerful networking was when I was actually traveling, because I've met some of the most interesting people in airplanes and in hotels and in my travels. And I just wish there was a way back then to be able to connect and remember and get in touch with some of these people, because today the world, of course, has changed so much. But yes, the power of networking is probably not brought up and talked about so much as important as it can be in a one-on-one personal basis. I don't mean networking nowadays the way that kids do from a social media standpoint by saying hello and hi. I mean, but actually getting to know someone, sometimes being on an international flight for 6, 8, 10 hours and, chatting with someone and actually becoming friends with them by the time you get off the plane. So
that is very true. Yes. So do you have a tip for someone who might be in the position to travel now a lot? What would you say is like the golden nugget, or what is very important? How can you start doing networking the right way?
It's really funny you say that, because I've always tried to look at things outside the perimeters of maybe the normal common way that people look at them, because now society is so built up on this thing where everybody has a celebrity status, or certain people are trying to be who they're not, and people are not approachable. Or I've always been the type that I've never been afraid of any situation, and I've never been afraid of approaching a situation and learning from it and trying to find out who's running the operation. For example, if I'm staying in a resort, then I want to meet the general manager. If I notice someone in the hotel that maybe looks like they would have an interesting story, then I want to introduce myself. The power of introduction has left our society in a normal way. Going up and introducing yourself and asking a simple question to, hi, how are you? Where are you from? It will go a long way. And hopefully that any younger person or person that maybe wants to just power their network, regardless of their age, you're not as scared to go up to someone and say hello. You'll notice now that people don't even say hi to one another, and there's not as much waving, because so many people are focused on the negative side of the universe. And I've always tackled and looked at everything completely different. I've never been scared of situations. I've been in countries where they say, well, you cannot go out at night. Well, then you just told me I can't do something that I'm going to do. I've always been an explorer. And I guess that exploring mentality has made me be so inquisitive that I've wanted to know more and learn more. So I think just starting out a simple, hello, how are you? Where are you from? Can go a long ways.
That's a great tip here, and you never know who this will lead to once. So sometimes it really takes years, but then this contact will come back to your mind and will just match perfectly to what you're looking for. So Kyle, you worked with 16 of the top 100 tennis players in the world, and also with professional basketball players, professional golfers. So how did this all come about, did those athletes approach you, or were you reaching out for them? How can we imagine that this relationship starts?
Well, it started out for me very big in tennis. Tennis is what, was the foundation, and I started with tennis players. But then as I was traveling the world with these professional tennis players, there is so much downtime. I would be so bored. I can remember times being at Wimbledon, and it sometimes rained for 2 days, and I didn't even know what I was going to do. So I started looking and venturing out and talking to other athletes and other sports, and getting to know them and seeing what was kind of missing in their careers, and asking if I could get involved. And then I started kind of evolving from tennis, and I started taking players that couldn't make it in the NBA and play. They couldn't make it here professionally in the United States, and I'd ask them, would you be interested in going and playing overseas? And they would look at me. Here I am, look down at me and say, are you crazy? I'm like, no, you could actually go play in Europe, or you can play in parts of, Eastern Asia, wherever, and you could actually play professionally. And so that was a very large turning point in my career, where I started to have professional tennis players and professional basketball players, and have the confidence that I needed to really achieve and do this. Now, I remember when, I won't say his name, but I had a player that got cut from the NBA. He was in LA. He was playing in a park. And I flew into LA at the time, and I met with him. I saw him, and I was told that he didn't have any shoes. So here I am driving around in LA looking for a shoe store, and I could not find a size 15. I couldn't find a size 15 shoe anywhere. So I got, the largest I could get was a 12 and a half. So psychologically in my mind, I thought, you know what? Maybe the intention will outweigh the size, and he'll see that I'm coming with, good purpose. So I show up there at the park, and here I am going to hand this player, introduce myself and show this player that I have some shoes for him, and I'm going to bring him to Europe to play basketball. And I give him these shoes, and he's like, who are these for, little kids? And I said, no, these are for you. And he's like, these will never fit me. What do you want me to do? And then he turned to me and goes, do you mind if I give them to my little brother? And he had a little brother at the time. I believe he was in the 7th grade, and he wore a 12 and a half at the time. And that's was one of the turning points that I will never forget in my life. And he turned to me and he said, hey, what about your law degree and your legal team? Will they be able to handle the contracts and everything for me going forward? And I turned to him, and I knew I had two choices. I could turn to him and say, I'm not a lawyer. Number two, I could turn to him and say, I don't have a legal team. Or I could turn to him and say, I'm going to figure everything out so that you're covered in the best manner possible. And I remember I turned to him and I said, I'm going to find the best lawyer to represent you legally, but I'm going to be your agent. And I got asked that question so many times, and I deeply regret not going to law school and the amount of money that I paid lawyers. A very dear friend of mine in South Florida, Gary Englander, I have always joked with him and saying, why wasn't I a lawyer? And we laugh about it. But everything that I have done, I've always used very good legal teams and very good legal contracts. But that's how everything kind of evolved. And then from basketball, I would become a referral agent for baseball. And then all of a sudden, golf became a crucial part. And everything just worked. But how it all started was having the confidence in my mind to be having the direction and being willing to put forth the effort. Because the worst that someone could say is, no, I'm sorry, I'm not interested. Okay, no problem.
Very, very interesting story. And I really like how it evolved from like just working in tennis so that you always were open-minded to see new opportunities and chances. So I guess someone else might have stick to tennis forever and you saw all the other opportunities in sports.
Yes. Yeah, that my mind unfortunately never stops. I always want to I really love new projects. I'm never scared of failing, and I love to take on new projects and see them through their phases of getting started, and then how it can get to the building point, and then once it's built, it might be going down, and then how you can bring it back up, and how you can make it successful, and maybe it's profitable, maybe it's not, and I never ever got too hung up on something that didn't work. I'm always willing to go on to the next thing, and I think that's when I listened to your other podcasts, which were wonderful, one thing I picked up on in the power of a lot of people's minds is a lot of people get caught up and hung up on something, and they drag it on forever. For example, if you were a house builder and you built a house and the house wasn't profitable, and then all of a sudden you want to build another house, but the new house, you're saying, well, that house didn't make any money, so now I can't build this house. I think there's too many roadblocks in people's lives and minds that stop them from trying something new and doing something, not realizing and making the most of this life. Because just because something doesn't work doesn't mean that it's going to be like that forever. And that's what happens, I think, also in a lot of personal relationships with people. They feel, well, in that marriage or this dating relationship, this went wrong. And so there's too much carryover. And so now it's kind of interesting what's going on with the world with this virus. The world's getting a reset and a chance to look and say, wait, I have this and I can change my perspectives on my life. And so anyway, yeah, the power of moving forward is one of the most important things that I think if anyone learns anything or takes anything away from this podcast with me, that you just have to keep moving forward. And that was a great quote from Dennis Rodman. That's the one thing that if I learned anything from Dennis Rodman, he always told me, keep moving forward. So
I love that. That's really great. And it brings me to an important question, Kyle. What would you say? Because when someone is working on a project and maybe they are looking to get started having their own business, and it's like they are stuck. So it's not moving further, and no matter how much pressure they put in, it's just not evolving anywhere. What would you say, when is the time to let go and really move forward, as you said, to try something new? Or where is it that you would say that people give up too easy?
Well, number one, a lot of people, it's not that they even give up. A lot of people will have an idea that's been fantastic and they won't even start it, but they'll talk about it. So the one thing that I've tried to make sure that I've never done in my life is procrastinate. My mother always, this is the one thing that she did that annoyed me so much that ended up sticking with me forever. She would stay on me always about something until it was complete. And she would annoy me to the point where I would actually get so mad. I'd be like, I'm going to do it. She's like, you haven't. So she was so big into me practicing, because I wrestled and I played tennis. And if I didn't practice, I couldn't understand why she would get so upset. And she would really pound on me about practicing and working. But the thing is, starting a project is the most important. You have to start. Everyone talks about, oh, I like to do this, I like to do that. Why don't you try it? A lot of people are like, then Well, how do I start? Well, one of the best things that I've done in the past is I've created a method for me that works and might work for others. Is I like to use what you call the folder concept. So I will get a folder and I will write a title in the top of that folder. And for example, Project A, but you could title it whatever, of course, you want it to be. And any notes or any ideas I have on that project, I'll put in there. And when I'm ready to start that project, all my notes and everything I've done are in there. Now, I might not be able to have the financing at that time, or be able to have it might not be the right time in my life to start that folder or project. But when it is ready, then I have that project. So this folder project idea can really help a lot of people, especially if something's not working at that current moment, then they can maybe start on project B. The one thing from all the books I've read from some of the most successful, best leaders in the world is they're really working on many things at one time. And then if one thing really takes off, then they use that, and that ends up financing the projects that they haven't really got off the ground yet. And I think a lot of times, sometimes we put all our eggs in one basket and we're so stuck in our ways. And answering your question, this is where your network and your contacts can be so useful. A very good friend of mine who's a neuromaxillofacial trauma surgeon, he's a very thorough, thoughtful, calm person. So sometimes if I am stuck, I'll reach out to him, or I'll reach out to someone around the world that can just give you an idea or a spark. But using your friends and your contacts when you're stuck can be so helpful. I have a friend that's in the hospital industry, and I'll refer and ask questions and get ideas. I will refer to real estate agents. You can reach out to so many people, and a lot of people are scared to do that because then they feel like they're weak. And so when you feel like you're in a situation where it's not working, you have to use your contacts.
That's a great tip here as well, and also brings me to another question, because you mentioned it, that it makes sense and all the big leaders do it, that they have several projects at the same time where they are working on. And I'm also a fan of this, because I think it's not that you get too much attachment with one project when you have several, but there's also the other camp where people say that it's very important that you just focus on one thing and only one thing. And there's also the book, maybe you know it, it's called One Thing. So from your perspective and experience, what would you say works actually better, to have just one main focus and have everything, all your energy on this one project, or really having several projects, as you said, and then when one takes off, taking the money out of this project and bringing all other projects forward as well?
Well, I guess every person's personality and work ethic is completely different. But I guess for me and my personality, one of the reasons I also have to have more than one project going at a time is because of I get bored so easily. This has been a good test for me through this virus period, because my mind has, I've already wanting to start 2 or 3 new projects, but I've been so busy with finishing and getting True Athletics completed that I haven't started those yet. But, it really, really depends. And sometimes what happens is if a person just stays in one project the whole time, then this is where boredom comes in. They get burnout. There's no excitement. So sometimes maybe that second project isn't more of a project. Maybe it's also like a hobby. So I think that so many people today, instead of having a hobby, their hobby is social media. And I don't think that that's necessarily really a project. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some people and kids today that have made millions of dollars off of doing social media. But a majority of people should actually find something that they really like and really have a passion for and see what they can do with it and make it a worldwide, or start with your state, start with your city. But that scared to start factor is much larger, and it's not addressed enough because people just don't want to fail. People just they just don't want to hit that failure button. And if you're okay with hitting the failure button, then you really have nothing to lose.
Great advice, really, Kyle. So before we dive into true athletics and you tell us everything about that, to wrap up the traveling, I wanted to ask you, while you were traveling all these countries worldwide and working with all those fantastic athletes, were you ever in any kind of dangerous situation while traveling?
It's well, let me recall. I was actually in Indonesia when the riots broke out one time, but I do have one pretty funny story that happened. I was down in Comitán, Mexico, down by the Guatemalan border, and I had a van. Excuse me. I had a van, and we were driving to Tuxtla Gutiérrez, Mexico. And when you're driving, for those of you that have gone through Mexico and you're in the back roads, there's a militia and an army down in that part of Mexico. And there's speed bumps that are very big in Mexico. So when you hit these speed bumps, you have to be very careful, because they put potholes on purpose on the other side of the speed bumps so that you'll get a flat tire. So I'm driving this van with around 15 athletes in it, and I had a very good friend of mine from Thailand, an older gentleman also, and he yelled pothole. So I took the van and I tried to turn, and we dodged the pothole, and then something happened to the axle of the van. So we had to pull over, and they told us to go up on this little side road and there would be someone that could look at the van. So we're driving, and to make a long story short, I see that the road's blocked off by these two Jeeps and all these guys with guns. And I definitely know that we're on the wrong road. So I had to think very, very fast. And I yelled at him real fast. I said, "Give me your passport. Hurry up, give me your passport." He said, "What do you want my passport for?" I said, "Just trust me, give me your passport. I'm not going to give it away." So as we're coming out of these Jeeps, this guy comes up to the window with a gun, and he starts speaking in Spanish, and no one in our group spoke Spanish. So the only thing I knew to do was I took the red passport and I put the lettering towards Thailand towards me, and I let him see the back so he could only see the red part of the passport. And I said, "U.S. diplomats and officials, we have to get through. These people have to get to the airport immediately. Diplomat." And I was like screaming, "Importante, importante." And I'm like, and so he gave me this look, and he's looking at the red passport, and they moved the Jeeps, and we went on. And that's a story that I'll never forget as long as I live.
Yes, I can imagine. So that was really extraordinary, but really clever, and another proof that your mind never stands still and you always have these great ideas and also impulses to do the right things.
Well, I hope that was the right. I didn't know if it was right or not, but I had to try something, because here I had kids between the ages of 15 and 19 in this van, and I wasn't going to have whoever they were or whatever they were, do any, take us or get money from us or anything. But anyway, that's one dangerous experience that I could recall.
But finally it worked, and it also shows that you really like to work with young people and kids and like to help them. And this brings us to your company, True Athletics. And I think you can explain best what your company does.
It's really easy. is an international college recruiting company that matches kids' academics and their sports ability to find them a college that's the right fit for them. Because there's so many kids outside of the United States that don't know anything about the United States college system. And so they might find a college, but the college that they're going to, it might not even have what they want to study, or it might not be the right fit for them academic wise or sports wise. So I kept getting asked when I would travel, how do I get my kid into a college if they can't be a pro athlete in the States? How can I get my kid into a college? So when I was flying back from Cairo, I decided to put this idea on paper and get back to the United States and run it by my mentor and one of my best friends who recently passed, named Mark Reed, who was the founder of Checkers Hamburgers. And every idea I ever had, I'd run it by him. And I would just say, what do you think? And he was so supportive of everything I did. So him and his wife, Jan, told me, go for it. So I did. And it took me about a year and a half to build. And right now we're currently in 5 different languages. We're one of the only multi-language international college recruiting companies in the world. And our goal is to get up to 9 languages. So it helps student athletes find a college and get a scholarship.
That's really fantastic. So, Kyle, when someone who's listening right now is interested in how to get their kid or kids into the program, how are the steps here?
Real easy. You just go to the website, www.trueathletics.com, and it will guide you. And if you have any questions, you can email in, and our customer support team will answer any questions and help you with it. We have many different packages from people that have a lower income budget. That's fine, or people that want us to hold our hand all the way through. But we're still lower price than any other college placement company. I think our top package is $2,000 for us to find you a scholarship that could be worth anywhere from $50,000 to $200,000, because there's so many scholarships available in the American college system.
I see. And also, I found that you are kind of sending out videos. How can I imagine that, like videos of the kids?
Yeah. So when you got to picture yourself as a college coach, you want to get a quick bio, see that they qualify for you. You want to get an introductory video. A lot of these kids don't have an introductory video just to introduce them. So a critical, crucial part, and that goes back to that, hey, how are you format, but in a video format.
Okay, great. So the connection was lost for a moment. So just to get back there, so the video basically introduces the kid and the personality of the kid and all of that, and you have the job to send this out to several colleges then.
Yes, we find that we look at every student's academics, and we look at their athletic ability. We have professional scouts that determine how good they are in each sport, and then we find matches for them. And depending on the package that they chose, we send it out to those schools.
That's great. And what is the normal age of those kids you are working with?
Normally kids start around the age of 16 all the way up to 28 years old, believe it or not.
Great. So that means maybe someone who's listening who's a little bit older and not really feeling as a kid or teenager anymore at the age of 28, they still have a chance to get a scholarship?
Yes, absolutely. There's many different types of schools. You know, you have NCAA, you have which is Division One, Two, and Three. You have the NAIA. There's junior colleges. There's so many different opportunities that can be met, and for people, and they can get their college at a discounted rate, or some of them can be there for free if they have the athletic and academic ability.
Makes sense. So we mentioned your website, trueathletics.com, and this will be in the show notes of the episode. Is there also another way to reach out? Maybe for teenagers, I guess they are more on social media than websites where they can contact you or just get more information?
Yes, we're on Instagram at True Athletics, the TRUATHLETIX. Where we use Instagram, or they can email us trueathletics@gmail.com. And Jennifer, one question that I get probably at least 10 times a week is, I need a visa. I get this from kids, and what everyone needs to understand is, any college that ends up offering you a scholarships gives you the I-20. They issue you an I-20 paper, which is good for 4 years. And that allows you to have a 4-year visa to the United States while you're in college. So that's to touch on the visa issue that kind of help the people, because I do get asked this a lot.
I can imagine, yes. Too bad I'm a little bit over the age limit, so I guess I would apply for this as well, because it's so cool, and that you have the opportunity, especially as you mentioned with the visa, because this is still a big problem for everyone in Europe who wants to stay for a longer time in the United States and be trained there or work there or whatever. So I'm glad you touched on that as well. And now, while we are in this very special situation at the moment where the world is brought to a halt, kind of, how are you dealing with this, Kyle? And how is it working with the whole system? I guess it's also paused, that there's not much happening with all the colleges at the moment. At least here in Germany, all the colleges are completely closed down. But what is your take on that? How is the situation, and when do you think that there is some release?
Well, yes, all the colleges here are completely shut down. Some of the schools are actually doing online live streaming for their schools. Every college is different. The sports recruiting world temporarily is on hold a little bit. The NCAA is deciding whether or not they're going to give another year of eligibility to students that missed out. So that's a very good thing for people that didn't get to play their spring sports. But, Jennifer, the world is, if you really think about it, the world is always in a rush. The world is so much always in a rush. Everybody's in a hurry, including myself. And so, maybe the universe wants everything to slow down just a little bit, so everyone's a little bit more grateful. Everything's perspective. And it's sad that lives are going to be lost during any type of virus, not just this. I mean, I know a lot of people die from car accidents and cancer and other things, but anytime life is lost, it's a sad thing. But, maybe this is the universe having everyone just slow down a little bit and be grateful and look around and appreciate things more. So now, when everything is back to normal, I think that people are going to appreciate what it is they had and don't take it so much for granted. So I guess there's just, how we look at this whole thing is a matter of perspective.
So true, Kyle. And maybe you have a couple of tips as well when it comes to sports. I think not only people who are looking to start a professional athlete's career, but also people who like to go to the gym or work as entrepreneurs and need some kind of sports as a hobby to just get rid of all the stress. And now it's in most parts of the world, people are locked down at home, so they are not allowed to leave the house. Do you have some tips on what you can do still to keep your body moving, to feel good, to detox, and especially to keep your mind clear, that you can keep your motivation and not losing it all to all the bad news that are all over every day?
Actually, I was thinking about this as I was driving the other day. If someone asked me what I would do, or what they should do, which, believe it or not, you'll be surprised, no one has asked me what to do. So I'm glad you asked me this, actually. I know I'm not a fitness expert by any means, and everyone right now has stepped up, and there's millions of fitness experts telling you what to do at home. But the number one thing that I suggest is, how about reading a book, maybe on a subject that you don't know anything about, to educate your mind. Number two, how about doing some push-ups, doing some daily stretching? How about jumping some rope? If you have the ability to take a walk around your neighborhood, great. But if you could just stretch every day, do some push-ups, do some sit-ups, jump rope, and read a book, that's probably more than you're doing if you're not an athlete on a daily basis anyway. So rather than touching so much base on an athlete's going to need to know, they're going to know what to do regardless. But I'd rather touch a base on a person that, again, doesn't know how to start or do something, and maybe they've never done something. So maybe they could start with 10 push-ups and read a book and then jump rope for a minute and then grow it and have it do more and more. But I think getting started is the most difficult thing for anyone because they procrastinate.
Yes, that is so true. And I think that's really important that you said that again, that it's really all about getting started. And I also see this time, like you, that it's also an opportunity that you have this time to reflect yourself and think about what you really want, and maybe a new skill set you would like to train or to get. So now is the best time, because when all the stress rolls in again, it's over. You won't have that time. And Kyle, it looked like that because you were mentioning about reading a book, and from our interview, I got that you read a lot of books and you like reading books. So do you have a tip for the audience, a good book that is really positive and can help you, maybe about stopping to procrastinate things you really would like to start, or anything else around the mindset, about visualization, anything that comes to your mind?
Well, I read a lot of books when I traveled. I haven't read. I started reading a new book here recently, but I try to read on different topics. I really love biographies. I love reading about people's lives. I think you can learn a lot from that. And the one thing that I can say is that that has helped me is when I'm in the car, I love to listen to motivational speakers from all types. No celebrity type motivational speakers. I'm not saying that they're not good. I like to listen to motivational speakers that you've never heard of, and you just random put something in and you can listen to an album. It's amazing how much energy you have and perspective when you listen, say, for 30 minutes or an hour a day to random people that you don't know, tell stories of their life and give positive visualizations and quotes. That's one thing that I would say that really can help you.
Awesome. So would you recommend YouTube for finding those speeches, or any other platform?
Yeah, you can go to YouTube. You can search on your phone. For those of some people have the Apple Music and they just type in motivational speeches. There's thousands now in the world, and even listening to some of your podcasts are very motivational. I probably listen to in the last couple of days, I listened to 5 or 6, and they were very good.
Awesome. Thank you. So those are really great tips you shared here. And we mentioned that people who are interested in getting a scholarship for college can go to your website, trueathletics.com, or also reach out via email or via Instagram. I will put everything in the show notes. So Kyle, thank you so much for being my guest today on Pure Mind Magic. That was really enlightening talking to you with all your experiences and also all the golden nuggets you shared with us, what you learned and the tips you can give to really get ahead in life. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me today with Kyle Mayberry. And when you want to find out all about his service and how he can help you and your kids to find the right college, definitely check out the True Athletics link in the show notes. You can also connect with him via Instagram. And as promised, I do have a great music tip for you when you like country music. It's an amazing song from Todd Barrow. You can listen to the song on Spotify. There will be a link as well in the show notes. And his new single is called Texas Country Nation. Check that out. It's really good. It helps you to get in a good mood and just lean back and relax a little bit and enjoy listening to music. Again, that's Todd Barrow and Texas Country Nation. Check it out, enjoy the rest of your day, make the best of it, and talk to you soon. Until then, create some magic.